Good day, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel, the PD Casting TV. So don't forget to click subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can post comment down below. So for today, we are going to discuss about statistics and probability for the grade 11. So hello sa lahat ng mga grade 11 senior high school learners all over the Philippines, all over the world, all over our Luzon, from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. So I am Pidi Kasing, your teacher. I am from the Region 9 from Zamboanga Peninsula. So we have here our lesson for quarter 3, module 1. We have random variable, discrete, and continuous. So what I need to know. So this module contains only one lesson. Lesson 1, random variable, either discrete and continuous. At the end of this module, you are expected to, number 1, illustrate a random variable, discrete or continuous. Number 2, distinguish between a discrete and a continuous random variable. Number 3, find the possible values of a random variable. And number 4, illustrate a probability distribution for a discrete random variable and its properties. What I need to know. Here, you can get an extra sheet of paper for you to answer. So write numbers 1 up to 10. Okay. So directions. Choose the letter of the correct answer. Write the chosen letter on the space provided for you. So if you have your module, you can answer this one. If none, you can get extra sheet of paper for you to practice. Number 1. Which is a discrete random variable? A, the average amount of electricity consumed. B, the number of patients in the hospital. C, the amount of paint used in repainting a building. Or D, the average weight of female athletes. So, guess what is your answer? Number 2, in the equation 3 plus x equals 2, x refers to A, solutions or solution. B, the multiplier. C, a known number. Or D, mathematical symbol. Okay, number 3. When flipping a coin, what are the possible outcomes to get a head or a tail? Or heads or tails? A, 3 outcomes. B, 2 outcomes. C, 4 outcomes. Or D, 6 outcomes. Okay, number 4. What type of variable whose value is obtained by counting? A, continuous variable. B, discrete variable. C, quantitative variable. Or D, qualitative variable. Number 5. What type of variable whose value is obtained by measuring? A, continuous. B, discrete. C, quantitative variable. D, qualitative variable. Number 6. Consider a dice with a property that the probability of a face with n dots showing up is proportional to n. What is the probability showing 4 dots? A, 1/4. B, 5/42. C, 1/2. Or D, 4/21. Number 7. Let x be a random variable with a probability distribution function of f of x equals 0.2, where for x, or the absolute value of x is less than 1, which is equal to 0.1. For less than, absolute value of x less than 4 is equal to 0. So the probability p of x between 0.5 and 5 is A, 0.3, B, 0.4, C, 0.5, D, 0.8. Okay, after these questions, we will discuss later what if your answers are correct or not. Let's now proceed to number 8. A coin is tossed up to 4 times. The probability that tails turn up 3 cases is blank or what? A 1 over 6, B 1 over 4 or 1/4, C 1 over 3 or 1/3, or D 1 over 2 or 1/2. Number 9, in a recent Little League softball game, each player went to bat 4 times. The number of hits made by each player is described by the following probability distribution. We have number of hits, or X, is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the probability P of X are, we have here the probabilities 0.10, 0.20, 0.30, 0.25, and 0.15. Question, what is the mean of the probability distribution? A 1.00, B 1.75, C 2.00, or D 2.15. Number 10. If the probability of hitting the target is 0.40, find the mean. A 0.2, B 0.4, C 0.6, D 0.8. Okay, are you done answering? So please reserve your answers because later on, we will discuss about this lesson, exploring random variables. What's in? You can also answer activity number 1, toss me, tossing 3 coins. Suppose 3 coins are tossed. Let y be the random variable representing the number of tails that occur. Find the values of the random variable y. Complete the table below. So we have here 3 coins. Remember that the coin or a coin has 2 faces. It can be head or tail. But here you are going to let y be the value of the random variable, number of tails, and the possible outcome. So if you are going to toss the coin, for example, there is a possible outcome, T, 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 meaning 3 tails. So that is, you are going to count the number of tails. We have 3. Okay. You can also T, T, H. We have tail, tail, head. Remember that 3 coins are being tossed. So you count the number of tails. Okay, since we have 1, 2, H is not a tail, that is a head. So that is 2. Okay, so you can continue answering for the possible outcomes here. Then count the number of tails for your value of the random variable y. You can write here. What's new? Another activity is paired me up. You are going to list all the possible outcomes with a given problem below. From a box containing 4 black balls and 2 green balls, 3 blue balls are drawn in succession. Each ball is placed in the box before the new draw or the next draw is made. Let G be a random variable representing the number of green balls that occur. Find the values of the random variable G. So you can have the same procedure from our activity number 1. So you write or list all the possible outcomes. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can have green balls. You can write G. Black balls, we have B. And blue balls, we have B. So there is a possible outcome that the result is GBB. Then count the number of green balls, only 1. So we have to write 1. So you can complete the given possible outcomes for your table. Okay. After that, let's now have our what is it activity. So ano bang meron sa exploring random variable? But before that, what is variables or what are variables? So variables are classified into 2. We have qualitative and quantitative variables. So for qualitative, it is also called a categorical variable, which variables that are not numerical, that is qualitative. So not numerical meaning hindi siya number. For quantitative, it is also called numerical data whose sizes are meaningful. Answers questions such as how many. So it deals with numbers for quantitative. And quantitative variables are categorized into two, discrete and continuous. When we say discrete, are those data that can be counted. So discrete ang tawag pag you are going to count the data. For example, counting the number of students in your section. So you can count na student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for example, 50 students, so you can count the number of students. That is called discrete variable or discrete random variable. For continuous random variable or variables are those data that can be measured. So pag measurable ang data, not countable, ma-measure siya using any device. So that is continuous random variable. For example, you are going to get the temperature. So mayroon tayong thermal gun or thermometer gun. So pag i-click yun, you can get the measure of the temperature. That is continuous random variable. Or weighing scale. Ano ang weight? Your weight for this semester. So using the weighing scale, makuha mo yung weight or weigh. So that is continuous random variable kasi ma-measure ang data. So what is random variable? A random variable is a variable whose possible values are determined by chance, typically represented by an uppercase letter, usually X or capital letter X, while its corresponding lowercase letter, in this case X, is used to represent one of its values. So the bigger X that is representing the number, the total number, for example, total number of students, number of heads, that is X value. But in every possible outcome, you are going to count, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, that is called lower letter X values. For example, a coin is tossed 3 times. So let the variable X represent the number of heads that result from this experiment. So in the first toss, as you can see, we have H and T. So either the one coin, uh, we have head and tail for each coin. So there is a probability or possible outcome that one coin will have H for the head or the tail. For the second toss, another coin, for that coin, from H, pwede siya magiging head and tail again. Then for the third coins, pwede naman yung first coin maging H and T, H and T, head and tail. So the possible outcome for the first, we have first coin, second coin, first toss, second toss, third toss, it can be H, H, H. So tatlong H. Pag i-count ang number of heads, okay, that is 3. Second, HTT. H, H, T. Pwede ang possible outcome, head, head, and tail. So you just count H, H, T. How many number of heads? We have 1, 2. So you write 2. Another outcome, HTH. So you write the final outcome, HTH. Count the number of heads. We have 2. Another, we have HTT for the head, tail, tail. So the possible outcome is HTT, the number of heads. If you are going to count only 1, so you write 1. These are the variable X. Another outcome, we can have THH. So we have THH, that is 2. THT, 1, because only one head. TTH, we have 1, because one head. TTT, meaning 0, kasi walang H na nag-occur sa final outcome. So in the illustration above, random variable is represented by the uppercase X. So dito po sa taas, number of heads, capital X. The lowercase x represents the specific values. Itong mga 0, 1, 2, 3, Nagrepresent siya ng mga small values or small letter x variable. So the sample space for the possible outcomes is, ano ba yung mga sample space natin? So you can write the possible final outcome here using the set S or sample space is equal to the set HHH. Just copy here. Kung ano yung final outcome, i-copy lang dito. HHH, HHT, HTH, HTT, THH, THT, TTH, or TTT. So the value of the variable x can be 0, 1, 2, or 3. Then in this example, capital X is a random variable. So random variables can either be discrete or continuous. Again, a discrete random variable can only take a finite that is countable. Mayroon siyang, mabilang siya, mayroon siyang limit. The number of distinct values. Distinct values means values that are exact and can be represented by non-negative whole numbers. So the following are examples of discrete random variables. Let x equals number of students randomly selected to be interviewed by a researcher. So you are going to count the number of students. So this is a discrete random variable because its possible values are 0, 1, or 2, and so on. Another example, let y equals the number of left-handed teachers randomly selected in a faculty room. Sino ba ang mga left-handed teacher? So this is a discrete random variable because its possible values are 0, 1, or 2, and so on. So you are going to count. That is countable. Example 2, let's assume a test has 5 parts. We can define a discrete random variable as x equals the number parts passed. So what are our possible outcomes? Well, so for example, meron tayong 5 parts ng test. So it can be x equals 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So note, a student can pass any number of parts, including 0 from this final list. Let's now proceed to continuous random variable. Can assume an infinite number of values in an interval between two specific values. So continuous is infinite number. This means they can assume values that can be represented not only by non-negative whole numbers but also by fractions and decimals. So ito ay measurable. Those values are often resulting of measurements. Pag mini-measure natin ang data, that is called continuous random variable. Again, pag countable, anong tawag? Okay, that is discrete random variable. So for example, for the continuous random variable, let y the weights of randomly selected students in pounds. So this is a continuous random variable because its values can be between any two given weights. Also, weights are measured using as weighing scale. So, di ba, pag measure natin ang data, that is continuous random variable. For example, the weight of a student, 150.5 pounds, but due to limits of measuring devices, the measurement is always an approximate. So, sometimes ang data pwede mag-approximate. So, the weight of students can range from 100 to 100 pounds, including all the decimal places that come between these values. So, those are the difference between continuous random variable and discrete random variable. Again, pag continuous random variable, that is measurable. Ang data ay ma-measure. But for discrete, countable. Pag ma-count mo ang data, that is discrete random variable. Let us now proceed to discrete probability distribution. It is also called probability mass function, consists of the values a random variable can assume and the corresponding probabilities of values. It can be represented in tabular, graphical, or formula form. So ito po ang properties ng ating probability distribution. Number 1, the probability of each value of the random variable must be between or equal to 0 and 1. So pag sinabi natin probability, that is from 0 to 1. Hindi po siya lalagpas ng 1 at hindi rin siya negative numbers. In the symbol, we write it as probability of x is between 0 and 1. Number 2, or second property, the sum of the probabilities of all values of the random variable must be equal to 1. In symbols, we write it as the summation of probability is equal to 1. So if you add all the probabilities, dapat talaga equal to 1. So we have the formula. Pag this topic, finding the mean, will be for the next module. But here, ini-include, so formula for the average, mean is equal to the summation of x times p of x. Meaning, i-multiply mo yung possible outcome doon sa probability, tapos i-add mo, get the sum, that is the mean of the probability distribution. So let's now have example number 1 for our probability distribution. So we have your x values 0, 1, 2, 3. Our p of x is given by 0.2, 0.3, 0.3, 0.2. Ito po ay sa next na po ito na lesson. So dito mo lang tayo focus sa probability distribution. So for example, ang given natin sa probability of x 0, ano ang answer is 0.2 or the given. Ang 1 dito, ang probability ay 0.3. Ang x, when x equals 2, 0.3. When x equals 3, ang probability ay 0.2. Given na po ito sa table. So when you solve or add the probability here, 0.2 plus 0.3 plus 0.3 plus 0.2. So we have 2, 3, 5 plus 5, 10. That is 0, carry 1, naging 1.0. So meaning our probability is equal to 1. We get the sum of the total of the probability. So in the table, the random variable x assumes the values 0, 1, 2, 3. These are the random variable for x. We have the values, assume the values 0, 1, 2, 3. So the corresponding probabilities of these values, pag sinabing ano yung mga probabilities, corresponding probabilities. So isulat mo lang ang 0.2, 0.3, 0.3, and 0.2 respectively. These corresponding probabilities are each less than 1 but greater than 0. And when added, the sum is 1. Pag when you add a probability, that is equal to 1. So second example, toss a pair of coin twice and let x be equal to the number of heads observed. So construct the discrete probability distribution of x. So mag-toss ka ng coin twice. So first toss is head-head. Pangalawang basis mo itos. Pwede din possible outcome is HT, TH, TT. So our probability for getting the two heads, so when you count, ilan ba lahat ang probability na mayroong two heads? So di ba isa lang? So you write P of 2 equals 1 over 4. Saan galing ang 4? So you count the number of possible outcomes. Do mayroon kang 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So gawin mo lang 1 over 4 or 0.25. What if P of 1, isa lang ang head of the probability? So you count HT, mayroong isa, TH, mayroong isang head. So there are 2. Probability of 2 over 4. Again, ang 4, ilang possible outcomes? 1, 2, 3, 4. Dito mo ilagay sa denominator. And that is 0.50. Zero probability, meron bang zero head? Okay, meron kasi TT has zero head. So the probability, merong isa na walang head. So 1 over 4 or 0.25. This is now our probability distribution. X is 0, 1, 2. Okay, for our P of X, we can have probability. So you write here 1/4, 1/2, because 2 over 4, that is 1/2. Then you write 2 is 1/4. So pag 0, 0 is 1/4, 0 probability of X, 1/4. Sa 1, mayroong 1/2. Sa 2, ito is 1/4. So if you are going to add, to get the sum of all the probabilities, 1/4 plus 1/2 plus 1/4, that is equal to 1. So our second property is also met. So when you add the probabilities, the sum is 1. Therefore, the distribution is a discrete probability distribution. Pag hindi siya abot ng 1, that is not discrete probability distribution. So you can answer now for what's more activity. Identify me We have directions. Identify whether the given variable is discrete or continuous. Write D if it is discrete and C if it is continuous. Write your answer on the blank space before each item. So if you have your module, you can answer that one. So number one, the number of books in the library. So ilan ba daw ang lahat ng books sa library? Is it countable or measurable? Write D for discrete, C for continuous. Again, pag discrete, that is countable. Pag continuous, measurable. Number two, the lifetime in hours of 15 flashlights. So what is the lifetime? Is it discrete or continuous? Number three, the number of tourists each day in museum. Okay, ilan ba lahat ang tourist? Is it countable or measurable? Discrete or continuous? Okay, number four, the capacity of water dams in a region. Is it countable or measurable? So write D for discrete, C for continuous. The weight of grade 1 pupils. Okay, write D for discrete, C for continuous. For activity 3.2, directions, true or false, write P if the statement is a discrete variable and write F if the statement is a continuous variable. Write your answer on the blank space before each item. Number one, the number of students present in the class. True or false? Is it countable? Is it discrete or continuous? Number two, time it takes to get to school. Number three, the distance traveled between classes. Number four, the number of red marbles in a jar. Number five, the number of heads when flipping 3 coins. So, in most cases, ang discrete random variable, mayroon siyang word na the number. Pag makita mo yung the number of students, this one, okay, automatically that is discrete variable. Diba? Countable siya. The number of students, the number of heads or tails, that is discrete. For activity 3.3, you are going to identify discrete probability distributions. If it is not discrete probability distribution, identify the property or properties that are not satisfied. So, ang gagawin mo lang dito, i-add mo lang ang P of X. Okay, sa probability. Pag magiging 1 siya, when you add 0.10 plus 0.20 plus 0.25 plus 0.40 plus 0.50, pag equals to 1, ang sum, that is probability distribution or discrete probability distribution. Pag hindi siya equal ng 1, not probability, not discrete probability distribution. So for letter B, again, you just get the sum of the P of X and determine if it is discrete probability distribution. So again, pag lalagpas ng 1.0 or 1, hindi na siya discrete probability distribution. The same with letter C, you add the P of X. Letter D, add the P of X. Letter E, add the P of X. What I have learned. So flip me now activity, fill in the blanks, use the highlighted words to answer questions below. Write your answer on the space provided before each number. So we have the choices here. You can write random variables, discrete probability distribution, continuous random variable, discrete random variable. Number one, a probability mass function consists of the values a random variable that can assume and the corresponding probabilities of the values. Okay, what do you call that one? You answer number one. Number two, a variable whose values are determined by chance and typically represented by upper letter usually X. Okay, that is called blank. Three, a type of variable whose values are often the results of measurement. Pag mini-measure, anong tawag na variable? Okay. Number four, a type of variable that can only take a finite number or countable number of distinct values. Pag it is countable, anong tawag? Okay. So another activity, look back and reflect. Questions number one, how do you find the values of a random variable? So you explain your answer or the procedure or process. Second, how do you know whether a random variable is discrete or continuous? Okay. Three, what is the difference between continuous and discrete random variables? After that activity, you answer what I can do. Show me what you got. So we have another here, the given problem. For the assessment, you answer the given problems or questions from 1 up to 10 in your modules. Okay. Then you have additional activities, and we have here the references. So I hope you have learned something for today about exploring random variables. So thank you very much for listening and for watching our video tutorial, PD Casting TV. Don't forget to click like, subscribe, and share this to the grade 11 learners of this, or the senior high school all over the Philippines and in our region. Thank you very much for watching.